Boldwood presents Girls Just Want to Have Sun, written by Joe Lyons and read by Anna Foster. Chapter 1. Less than 2 years after my mother's death, my father has taken to wearing a shirt and tie with his jeans, dyeing his grey hair the colour of hummus, and rather awkwardly dipping his toe, as he calls it, into a lady called Madge. They met at the local hiking club where they bonded over a shared love of walking across lumpy fields with a biting wind scraping across their faces like sandpaper. And even though they have only been going out for 5 minutes, with my poor mother still warm in her grave, Madge has invited him to spend a few days exploring what the Lake District has to offer by way of a romantic mini-break. He stopped by my house to inform me of his latest development in their relationship. Connie, loneliness and grief can eat away at your mind, my father says hesitantly, as he flicks a shy look over to Madge waiting for him in the car. Madge thinks we both need to move on, love. Meet new people. Try new things. It would certainly explain the goatee. She'll have him manscaping next and growing a hipster top knot. But seeing his face all lit up with nervous excitement makes me feel he might have a point. My last boyfriend ran screaming for the hills as soon as my mother became sick, and the nearest I've come to having a romantic relationship since is watching the Bridgerton buttocks scene on a continuous loop. I'm fine, Dad, I say. I have my career to focus on. I don't need to try new things. He leans in to hug me, and he must be nervous because he has pickled himself in eau sauvage. Go and have a lovely time, I say, trying not to be tearful at seeing him open the car door ready to drive off with a companion who isn't my mother. I stand in the doorway, staring sadly after them until my phone bursts to life. Just in time, I say to Nancy, my agent at We've Got Talent. I'm desperate for extra singing work now that my temporary day job as a data input cleaner, could anything sound more glamorous, recently came to an abrupt and unexpected end. Nancy's been my agent for the last 6 years. I'm not sure where to start. With my disappointing part-time singing career, with my father hurtling his way to the lakes to do the deed with his new girlfriend, with my 2 newly engaged BFFs about to tie the knot and set up home together, or with my poor mother, dead and buried instead of living her life with me at her side. I'll just stop you there, Connie pet, she says in a husky 20 cigs a day voice. It's about the gig for tonight. Wait! While she pauses to take a few puffs of a ciggy, I take the opportunity to blink away the tears. I've just remembered something very important. Nancy is not a huge fan of her artists sobbing down the phone about things that go wrong in their personal lives. And as if to prove the point, she lets out an exasperated sigh. I hope you're not crying. Jesus, it's not even wine o'clock. Nancy tuts loudly. Well, it is if you're me. She cackles. It's never too early for a pint of wine in her world. No, I croak, taking a deep, calming breath. No, I'm fine. Connie, love, you better not make a mess of this gig tonight. You know Sheila's a personal friend of mine. It's a wedding anniversary, and I've promised her a magical, uplifting, happy evening, not some depressing Billie Eilish fest, she says. Speaking of which, please do not wear those cheerless black robes of yours. It's a party, not a witch's coven. You're the singer, so I expect you to bring some sparkle. Can you do that? Nancy carries on before I can try to deny that I have indeed been using my repertoire of tear-inducing songs to encourage audiences to share in my ongoing grief. You sound upset to me. If you're not up to it, just say. We can't have a repeat of, I won't let you down. I'll be fine. I promise. The following morning, I'm practicing my singing scales in the kitchen with a wooden spoon and trying to forget the whole strenuous evening before when my phone pings with a notification that I'm tagged in a photo. I make the mistake of looking at the latest We've Got Talent social media post, and as I scroll through hideous photos of myself on stage, my 2 live-in flatmates cum therapists, Liam and Jed, are absolutely no help whatsoever. They've heard me whining and have come to my immediate aid because, as well as being very caring friends, They're also experienced musicians. After all, we graduated with our music degrees. Liam began working as a music teacher, whilst Jed became a music producer, which makes them an excellent sounding board because they are very talented, but also incredibly nosy. They're newly returned from their dreamy getaway to a spa hotel in Northumberland that had a rose petal and jasmine-scented hot tub with disco lights and a built-in glitter cannon. They've been full of tales of Jed's elaborate wedding proposal involving strawberries dipped in chocolate, couples vision boarding, and bubbles squirted in places they probably shouldn't be. It's bad enough trying to be happy for my dad without my two best friends gearing up to leave me behind too. I'm 27 years old. My commitment to fast fashion and bottomless brunches is almost impossible to underestimate, and I spend my weekends singing covers in old men's social clubs. I am very clearly not living my best life. Jed looks at one of the photos I'm tagged in and gasps. When did you get punched in the face? He flicks his finger back and forth across the screen. Sorry, false alarm. Stage lights can be so unforgiving. You look divine, darling, says Liam hurriedly. I watch him struggling to find the right words as he points to the photo of me with one eye half shut, mouth wide open, and a chin that has disappeared into my neck. Invested! Yes, that's it. Invested. Were you singing Adele again? Asks Jed. I nod. It's been viewed thousands of times and received 420 likes. Huge embarrassment. I could do without these off-putting images of me floating around on the internet. I'll never get hired again at this rate. I'll ring Nancy, I say, jabbing at my phone, and ask her to take the photos down. Oh, Connie, it's you, says Nancy, sounding disappointed. Hi, Nancy, just a quick call to see if you can take those awful photos of me down. Please, especially the ones where I have a face like a melted welly. And on a more positive note, I'm available for work next weekend. I did my new set at a party last night, I say, choosing my words carefully. Nancy is very astute. I will stick to the facts. And Sheila said she'd never seen or heard anything like it. A silence hangs in the air as I hear Nancy taking a long drag on her cigarette. You did the dreary songs again, didn't you? She exhales loudly into the phone. Christ. Yes, but they loved them. Even the men were bawling their eyes out at my PA Jesu. I can hear myself flapping. That's what good singers do. They move people. It's an art form. I'm on rocky ground here. Very rocky. Yes, love. But you were being paid to move people, Nancy says stiffly. To move them onto the dance floor, not have the guests wailing into their drinks. Sheila's refusing to pay up, and you've put me in a very difficult position, Connie. My mind flicks back to Sheila yelling at the DJ to hurry me off the stage and him blasting out dance tracks before I'd even finished the final notes of All Out of Love. I'm sorry, sweetheart, but I'll have to let you go. Nancy's gravelly voice sounds flat. I take a beat to understand what she's saying. She's known me for years. I sang my way through university for her. She found singers to cover for me when my mother was ill, and in turn I dropped everything to cover for her whenever she needed me too. You just haven't got what it takes anymore, pet. Recently, I've had nothing but complaints that you look and sound like a wounded animal. But good luck with your Royal Northern Sinfonia audition. Is it today? You'd be a perfect fit for that sort of hoity-toity singing. Lord knows, you've tried hard enough to get in. And while I'm sure she has a point to a certain degree, I may have lost my passion for singing and getting crowds going. Singing the lead in an orchestra choir and following in my mother's classical singing footsteps is the only link that I have. I will never stop trying. Connie, your phone's ringing, yells Jed that evening. He and Liam have retired to the safe confines of the kitchen whilst I howl the place down in the living room. My audition for the Royal Northern Symphonia could have only been worse if I'd shat myself on stage and thrown it at them. It's Nancy. Good Lord, you're not crying again, are you? Honestly, I'm amazed you're not in some permanent state of chronic dehydration. It's very aging, you know. No, hi, no, I'm not crying, I'm just... Well, whatever. Listen to me carefully. I've had a cancellation. Total nightmare. Our most popular tribute act, Ted Sheeran, has broken his chin on one of those electric scooters, and you're the only singer I know who is available and desperate. I'm going to give you one last chance to redeem yourself. I am desperate. Everyone in my life is moving on except me. I wipe the tears from my cheeks. I'll do it! I shriek. Whatever it is, I'll do it. OK, ring Jezebel Music, ask to speak to the boss, and say I gave you her deets and you're the replacement talent. Nancy texts me the details and I ring the number, and a woman picks up. Hello, is that Jezebel Music? Nancy asked me to call. I'm the replacement for Ted Sheeran. What sort of act are you? This simple and very reasonable question throws me. I should know what sort of act I am. Not very good. Well, I guess you could describe me as taking my audience on a deep dive into the very essence of... Can you sing? She asks abruptly. Yes, I can definitely sing. I'm classically trained in all forms of... We need someone to entertain a lively crowd. Can you do that? I'm from Newcastle, I say by way of explanation. All crowds are lively. Well, that's how they start off anyway. We need someone with great stage presence, someone who is going to get the crowd singing along. Oh, Nancy's words echo in my mind. Wounded animal, reducing grown men to tears. I'm definitely more of a musical experience. Oh, please refrain from talking. I mean, I take my audience on a journey of enlightenment. Jesus Christ. We just need a singer to do covers. Is that you or not? She's beginning to sound annoyed. I confirm that singing is what I do best, and she proceeds to give me all the necessary information before hanging up. A short while later, Jed and Liam wander through dressed in their outlandishly skimpy jogging gear to see why I've suddenly gone so quiet. I can't move. My mouth is gaping open. I'm going to Spain to perform in clubs. I'll be on stage in Benidorm for a whole week, I say dazedly, barely able to take it all in. Benidorm as in the party capital of the Costa Blanca? Asks Jed. Benidorm as in where all the drunks go holiday hard, supplies Liam. My voice is barely a whisper. I have to meet my support band at Newcastle Airport to fly over to Alicante together. I'm replacing Ted Sheeran. I crumple to the floor while the boys leap about excitedly. There's a huge knot of anxiety twisting around in my stomach. Oh God, talk about a fish out of water. I bury my face in my hands. I'm a moronic fool, an imposter, an impulsive charlatan. The flight leaves first thing tomorrow morning. What have I done? You've oversold yourself. That's what you've done. Moments later, we're flicking through images of my new support band on Jed's phone. I love them, Jed says. I mean, the Dollz. Can you believe it? Love the name, love the outfits, love the tribute vibe. It is so Benidorm. Look at them singing and doing upside-down splits at the same time. They have a lot of complex choreography going on, Liam says, browsing through the video clips of the lead singer, exuberantly twerking her huge thigh gap an inch from an audience member's nose. Christ, they're amazing. Absolutely stunning. How do I follow that? I wail, panicking. I could never imagine an occasion where I'd need to wave my thigh gap in anyone's face. I'll be booed off stage if that's what they're expecting. I mean, I'm classically trained, for fuck's sake. I hear an ugly hint of indignation creeping into my voice. I take my audience on a musical voyage. I give them a feeling of deep connection, human depth, tortured souls. I prefer my audience to leave having learned something. Surely that's got to count for more than flashing my knickers and singing cheap covers at them. Oh, they've got Instagram down to a fine art, says Jed admiringly, ignoring me and my incredible moment of musical integrity. Oh, it takes real skill to seem like you either have something terribly important on your mind or like you're greatly surprised to find once again you've woken up in full makeup, wearing only a thong and some oversized earrings. Real skill. Oh, this is so not helping. The lead singer looks like she's just walked naked through a silvering mist, says Liam. Neither is that. I hope they don't expect me to wear costumes like that. Liam peers at me over the top of the phone. We keep telling you to dress up and make an effort on stage, but will you listen? No, you won't. You have award-winning legs, Connie. You can't turn up in Benidorm dressed for an archaeological dig. I'm a pitch-perfect classical singer. I don't belong somewhere like that, I say, trying to keep the terror from my voice. Singing cheesy covers to a sea of bald heads. It's like scraping the professional barrel. Maybe I should just ring Nancy back and explain I've made a mistake. What other options do you have? I don't hear the London Philharmonic knocking, and you've got no money coming in, says Jed bluntly. Connie, you need a bit of a reality check. Life doesn't always turn out the way you expect. I know that, I say tightly. I know that more than anyone. Jed puts a comforting arm around me. Sorry, hun. I just mean that perhaps it's time to let go of this perfect life that you had planned and embrace the one that might be waiting for you instead. There's nothing waiting for me in Benidorm. Have you seen the state of the place? Besides, I only know one Ed Sheeran song. I let out a worried groan. Everyone will hate me, won't they? Jed and Liam exchange sympathetic noises before completely backtracking. No, of course they won't hate you. All you need to do is style it out, just tweak a few things. I blink at them and feel relief flooding through me as Jed pushes a glass of wine into my hand. No matter how difficult I can be, they always have my back. Just change the way you dress, change the way you sing, the way you dance. Oh, and smile at the audience more, Liam says. Your nerves can come across as a bit standoffish at times. Shitting hell, I can feel a panic attack coming on. This is so far out of my comfort zone. Nancy may as well have asked me to charter a private jet and fly it to Taiwan blindfolded with one arm tied behind my back while singing I Will Survive in Welsh. It's no good, I can't do it. We all take a beat and stare at each other whilst I flounder for words, my mind awash with dread at the thought of going. I can't be that type of bubbly, joyful person they need me to be. And just like that, their faces collapse. We know how difficult things have been since you lost your mum, Liam says, stepping in close. I hear the break in his voice as he continues softly. But, honey, sometimes it feels like we lost you too. You've become this numb husk muddling through life, moping from day to day, says Jed, suddenly sounding like David Attenborough, describing an endangered species. Without a shred of desire to make new friends or to fall in love, he pauses to sigh elaborately. We just want to see you happy, Connie, living your best life, having the odd shag from time to time. You know, dust off some cobwebs once in a while instead of watching the Bridgerton buttocks scene every night. He's right, babes. FFS. I'll just add that to my growing pile of emotional and professional wounds, shall I? I mean, no one likes to hear the actual truth about themselves, and this is very close to the bone. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one of us watching horny aristocrats having sex in manicured gardens and on ornate staircases. I throw an accusing stare in Liam's direction. Liam shakes his head at me. He's right. I am being petty. And, Jed tells me firmly, just because Benidorm has been voted the cheapest place in Europe for watered-down beer, blowjobs and designer knockoffs, and just because you've seen the Dollz on TikTok dry humping each other whilst wearing less than you'd wear to the beach, does not mean you should fall to pieces. You're right. I'm sure I'll be fine. I must remain positive. Hopefully the crowds will be small, the standards really low, and they'll be too drunk to notice what I'm singing or what I'm wearing. Jed looks up, from swiping, with wide eyes. Your stage costumes will not be the biggest problem anyway, he announces. It says here Ted Sheeran has over 800,000 followers. He sells out every night of the week in Benidorm, and it says he's the best tribute act since Adam Lambert joined Queen. Oh, fuck. Chapter 2. You'll be fine, Liam says as we screech to a halt at Newcastle Airport drop-off at 4:30 the next morning. He shoves me towards the terminal with my carry-on case as though he's terrified I might change my mind. I may have kept them both awake with my loud and frequent panicking. The Dollz are standing at the entrance looking as though they've come straight from a burlesque nightclub in Paris, and Liam flicks a worried glance at my Converse. My boring denim shorts and t-shirt, my long hair hanging in no particular style, and my makeup-free face. "Don't worry, a nice smile can go a long way," he says, patting me on the arm. "Just remember to give the audience what they want, not what you want them to want, and try to put on a bit of a show." I try my best. I hug him tightly. "I wish you were coming with me." His eyes fill as he peels me off him. "Just go and have a great time. That's all we want for you." I watch him race off before our emotions get the better of us, tires squealing. All I can do is hope for the best as I walk hesitantly towards my new support band, and my heart is thumping triple time. "Hi, I'm Connie," I say cheerily to hide my nerves. All 5 Dollz swivel round. "Connie Cooper, I'm the new Jezebel music headline act for next week." I'm met with blank stares until a woman with fabulous, over here, look at me, pillar box red hair gasps. "Headline? You're the new headline act? You mean you're going to replace Ted Sheeran on the strip?" I nod, and they all stare back aghast. "Oh, poor you. No one's as good as him." "Not even the real Ed Sheeran." "Christ, his regulars will be disappointed, won't they, Tash?" Tash, the Dollz lead singer, nods gravely. "Yes, they'll be fucking furious, and they'll hate it if you don't do all of his hits." Oh, shitting hell. While we make our way up the escalator to departures, the girls bicker over whose idea it was to save money by only bringing carry-on luggage. Apparently it was Cherry's idea, so she's keen to divert attention. She flicks her bright red hair over her shoulder and links her arm through mine. "Connie, so this is your first time away on tour, yeah? Who do you do?" she says, trying to place who I look like for my tribute act. I sweep my eyes around the group. It's hard to describe. I kind of take the audience on an emotional journey. I start off a cappella, all melancholic and ethereal, and then I segue into more dramatic contemporary ballads, you know. I hesitate at the lack of reaction. I should refrain from talking, but nerves have got the better of me. I thought I'd mix a few classical numbers with Latino, seeing as we're in Spain, and I could do Phantom in French and Nessun Dorma in Italian, bel canto, obviously. I emit a nervous, nasally, yipping sound, quite the opposite of endearing. Oh, and I did once sing a Gregorian plain chant in the original Greek, but I'm not sure how that would go down in Benidorm. Oh, for the love of God, abort, abort! They frown at one another, confused. "Yeah, they'll hate all of that," Tash says quickly, rolling her eyes at the girls. "Just stick to pop tunes or maybe songs from The Greatest Showman if you must show off, but don't cover anything that we're doing." "Okay," I say, dread swirling up from my stomach. "At least I don't know any Pussycat Dolls hits, so there'll be no chance of that." "Neither do we," says Tash, flicking her mane of jet black hair extensions over her shoulder. "We channel our vibe, but we do Beyoncé, Tay-Tay, Riri, and a bit of Little Mix, which is why they love us over there." Tash and her band are quick to reveal that they have wiped everything I've just said about my stuck-up, horrific-sounding singing completely from their minds and proceed to tell me how Benidorm has got everything you can possibly need for a girls' trip abroad. "Don't worry, there's plenty of English-speaking natives, so you don't even have to speak Spanish at all, not one word," Tash reassures me. "I have an A-level in Spanish, actually," I say, keen to make amends, "so that might come in handy." They do not look the slightest bit impressed and carry on as though I'd not even mentioned it. "And don't worry about having to eat any Spanish food either," says one of them, wrinkling a nose at me. "You can get all sorts of English food over there, you know, like pizza, kebabs, McDonald's." "Big Manda's right, and absolutely everything's dripping in garlic sauce," Cherry tells me enthusiastically. Simply delightful. I cannot wait. I wonder why this was not given top billing on TripAdvisor. "And it's swarming with English men," Tash says gleefully. "Absolutely heaving, all totally pissed." Lovely. Also wonder why Expedia are not leading with this. "I like my men how I like my fruit," a girl called Liberty boasts, twirling a long strand of hair. Ripe? My eyes balloon as the Dollz automatically chorus, 5 a day! I blink, unsure of how seriously to take this startling revelation. As we make our way through the airport, they also tell me that it is simply impossible to get any of these things, decent men and such like, in England, and it's much better to go abroad for them. It's especially easy to ensnare the good-looking ones at festivals, I'm told. They're all on so many drugs and they have no idea what they're doing. They can barely speak. Last year, I handcuffed a guy to myself for 2 days, says Liberty, giggling. A prickle of alarm creeps through me as I imagine getting arrested for something they've done. I've got a whole week of this. 7 days. 7 days of witnessing men being kidnapped and falsely imprisoned. I told Jed that forcing me out of my comfort zone before I'm good and ready would be a mistake. But would he listen? Oh, no, he would not. As we stand in the queue to go through security, I'm told all 5 of the girls' names, what they do for a living, when not on tour singing or breaking several laws, and what their views are on pubic hair, and it's all very mixed. Nancy must think very highly of you if she's put you as our headline act, Big Sue, the tallest woman I've ever seen, says. You must have a similar style to us. Raunchy, is it? No, I say. Unfortunately not, no. I'm not the sexy type. Don't worry, hun. We'll soon have you looking and acting like one of us, Tash says, confidently eyeing me up and down. If you want to fit in over there in Benidorm, just copy everything we do. Yes, being sexy's all about spontaneity, Cherry says, flinging a leg over Liberty's shoulder and dipping into a backwards crab shape as though to demonstrate. And the way you look, adds Liberty, pouting at me. And being completely in sync with one another, adds Big Mand, posing alongside them. I scan the group and quickly run through a mental list. So Tash is the lead singer and very single at the moment. Cherry with the flaming red hair is in charge of choreography and is very scary. Liberty with the inflatable lips is the very image of a Kardashian and is inexplicably drawn to married men. Big Sue is a sensible giantess, and Mandeep, or Big Mand, as she's introduced herself, seems to adore Big Sue because she keeps looking up at her with obvious cow eyes. And I'm just thinking, what a cute couple they would make when Cherry suddenly roars, "Slut drop!" Oh, Christ. The Dollz draw the eye of everyone in the near vicinity, especially the already irritated security control officers, whose head whips around to witness the Beyoncé-style move with distaste. The armed police guards instinctively reach for their guns. Tash, looking thrilled, flicks her hair in their direction and switches her lashes to bat on their most powerful setting as an outraged security control officer marches towards us in the queue. I'm equally unnerved to feel several pairs of hands pushing me forward with whispers of, "Go on, Connie, you're the headline act, you deal with them." I'm appalled. But I suppose technically, according to Nancy, I am in charge. The officer rapidly asks me several questions to which he greets each answer with a disdainful tut. I tell him, yes, I appear to be suddenly in charge of the group, while thinking to myself, I am certainly not in charge of the group for any longer than the length of this conversation. And no, of course we should not be dancing like prats whilst we go through the baggage check area. And yes, their outfits are a little more than denim G-strings and bra tops. And finally that, yes, I will do absolutely my best to persuade them to cover up around families with children. Next, under the watchful glare of several officers, we're instructed to get our toiletries out of our cases, and this proves to be very unpopular and causes a ripple of lady panic. Should super quick dry tan form be classed as a liquid, though? Because it definitely isn't, Tash says sharply with some authority. Liquid, snaps the officer, snatching the can from her and throwing it in the bin. There's an almighty gasp from the girls, as though he's just thrown away a newborn kitten. Is hairspray allowed? Tash asks. The officer points to a massive sign that says, no aerosols, no liquids, no gels over 100 millilitres. Is hair mousse allowed, though? The officer sighs, pointing to the 100ml bit of the sign. Is conditioner a liquid? 'Cause it's more of a cream really, isn't it? And body mist, it's mostly air. I mean, Jesus Christ, air's not even on the friggin' list. Tash screeches at him. She gawps at the rest of us for backup before returning to face the accusing officer, who delights in explaining the basic chemistry behind an aerosol. The atmosphere is super tense and thick with outrage, as though the security officers have taken everything off the Dollz out of pure spite. Cherry finds herself once again in the firing line for wanting to save money with carry-on luggage and forgetting to warn the girls about the dire consequences. Connie, Follow me and let's get those pasty legs sorted, she says, grabbing my hand. We all scuttle through to the duty-free where a well-groomed sales assistant makes a timid inquiry to the group to ask if they need any help, only to be met with an unfriendly glare as they swiftly crowd her out. In less than 5 minutes, everyone is encrusted in fake tan that costs more than our accommodation and travel put together. Excuse me, ladies, those brand new Saint-Tropez bottles you're opening and spraying all over your legs are not testers. They are £39 each. They're not faulty, just empty, because you've used it all. For the sake of bonding purposes, my legs have now a strange yellow glow, my palms are a solid brown colour, and I've allowed Tash to draw some ludicrous eyebrows on me which extend a fraction above the natural eyebrow line. They need to stand out on stage, she's explaining, as I have to take in her own terrifying jet black eyebrows. You really should have them tattooed on for a much stronger look like mine. I peer anxiously at my reflection in the mirror. I will now arrive in Spain, looking very surprised, as if I'd expected to arrive in Finland or Japan or somewhere. In the middle of the aisle, Cherry bellows, "Shopping cart!" which rocks me to my core. Everyone stops to stare, taking photos of the girls putting imaginary toiletries into their imaginary shopping carts whilst gyrating their hips. We all inhale sharply as Tash, in a pair of vertiginous strappy sandals with heels like chopsticks, falls noisily to the ground, taking thousands of pounds worth of beauty products with her. Her shoes might look spectacular, but to be fair, it was only going to be a matter of time before someone twisted an ankle. There's much slipping and sliding as bottles and creams are strewn everywhere, with Tash screaming at the top of her lungs about being in complete ags. Get help! She yells forcefully in my direction. But make sure it's from a man, a big strong one, with a neat beard. 7 days! Even though it's now only 5:30 a.m, we're at the departure lounge bar as Tash, in a newly acquired wheelchair and bandaged ankle, is greeted like a returning war hero. She immediately downs a bottle of fizz, saying she'll be up and twerking in no time. Remember, girls, chicks before dicks, sisters before misters, hoes before bros. A glass is quickly thrust into my hand for the toast. I stare at the bubbling liquid dubiously, already exhausted from the effort of keeping up with them. Tash spins her wheelchair around with an alarmed expression. Connie, why aren't you drinking? You're not. She squints at me up and then down to my drink. You're not one of them, are you? One of them? You know, somebody who refuses to enjoy alcohol. I take a beat to consider how badly I want to fit in with these girls, and against my better judgment, I drain the glass good and proper. There's a collective sigh of relief, and the glass is immediately topped up, and to prove a point, though I absolutely should not be trying to prove anything this early in the morning, I order 3 more bottles from the bar, just as we hear about our flight being called. Just ignore it, says Liberty, gleefully taking the bottles from me. They always do that. Yeah, says Cherry. Last call never means last call. Nancy will be furious if I miss this flight. She'll never trust me again. My singing career will definitely be over. We've got loads of time, agrees Big Man. Enough to do you a proper nose, lip and cheek contour, babes. Come here. How can you even leave the house without your face on? Inquires Big Sue. They dip into their bags and pull out what looks like finger paints and fat crayons and crowd round me. I'm beginning to regret making a vague Prosecco-based promise earlier to become an honorary doll for bonding purposes, and minutes later, they've pulled, rubbed, blended and smudged me into looking like a woman who cares. Perfect. Now you look just like one of us, Tash says, topping up my drink. Bing bong. Attention please, boarding for flight 4079 to Alicante is now closed. Oh, shite. Chapter 3. The upside to being part of a group of drunk women wearing obscene, butt-cheek-revealing thongs, dancing inappropriately in the terminal and having a wheelchair user with us is that the ground crew become immediately intimidated at screams to reopen the friggin' gate and see fit to prioritise our very late boarding of the plane as they whisk us straight through the empty departure lounge. As we clamber on board, we collect resentful stares from other passengers, and the stern-looking pilot comes out of the cockpit to inform us that because we'd failed to hear that we were last called many, many times, we have now missed the takeoff slot, and could we hurry up? That would be her fault. She got around in late, Tash explains, pointing to me, whilst undressing him with her heavily made-up smoky eyes. Unbelievable. What happened to hoes before bros? Before I can react, the girls get busy, wiping the smiles off the cabin crew's faces by taking an age to bash passengers left and right as they all struggle with their too heavy luggage, their too high sandals, and their too tipsy-to-care attitudes. Next, the girls have a period of swapping seats as they sit next to their drinking partners. Stuck in the aisle behind them, I glance at my seat number and realise I will be sitting on my own. Nobody asked, but it's fine. It's fine. Mind, I'm glad to see that we're sitting according to breast size. I'm a 28F, Tash boasts, laughing hysterically before telling all the passengers around her that she's very recently become much more of a double G. And Big Sue's only a 30A, shrieks Liberty. Big man, over here, you daft cow. Oh yes, I forgot. Liberty also has the yeast infection, a PhD, and a tendency to overshare. Big man has to retrace her steps. I'll swap with Liberty, yells Cherry, because me and Tash are reading Heat magazine. Oh, Cherry, yes, she has 2 children and the vagina in tatters, that's right. It looks like a butchered chicken. Her doctor had never seen a mess quite like it. So where am I now then? Big man asks, confused. Back down to where you were, next to Liberty. Big man twists herself back round, clipping someone's head with her case. As she yells, Big Sue! She yells, ignoring the yelp of pain and subsequent complaints from the passengers. Can you lift this up for us, tar, love? Big man, midwife, caring disposition, and excellent bedside manner. Big Sue is 6 feet of muscular Amazonian-like woman. She strides up the aisle to swing the case easily up into the overhead bin, giving the nearby passengers a glimpse of her all-encompassing back tattoo. Cherry suddenly roars, Boogaloo! Which frightens half the passengers to death, and the Dollz immediately stop what they're doing to shake their arms out wide and shimmy, a bit like Turkish dancing, whilst they belt out an a cappella version of the famous Cyndi Lauper hit, changing the words to, Girls just wanna have fun. Cherry cranes her neck to make sure I'm joining in. And I am absolutely not going to join in. No way. I'll not be making a spectacle of myself. The plane is full, and the cabin crew are already making stern eye contact with me. I scurry up to the aisle on my seat until I'm shaken to the core by Cherry bellowing down the plane. Connie, do the friggin' dance! I spin around, immediately copying their moves, as though I simply had no choice, and I'm sure she doesn't mean to sound so menacing. She stands with her hands on sharp hips, watching my panicked attempt to dance before there's a huge, exasperated sigh from the captain over the tannoy for us to stop messing about and to sit down so that he can give the weary crew the instruction to close the doors and get ready for takeoff. Luckily, I'm right by my row, so I leap into my seat in the middle, climbing easily over the old lady in the aisle seat thanks to my long, yellow-streaked legs, my many years of jogging, and my recent consumption of alcohol. I notice the man in the window seat is shaking his head at me and realise instantly that he is incredibly good-looking. With his Mediterranean features and overgrown dark, glossy hair. This is embarrassing enough without being judged by someone of such superior genetics. His eyes pop at the full force of my heavily made-up face and freakishly surprised eyebrows before he turns quickly towards the window. The girls are asked several times to be quiet during the safety instruction demo, and the cabin crew team leader eventually announces over the tannoy that while, yes, she agrees that the make-or-break relationships of celebrities and their many baby daddies are terribly important, and yes, indeed, they should not be giving their poor children such ridiculous names as Bear and Nest. Could we please save our empty speculation until after the demo? And also keep that discussion between ourselves, if we wouldn't mind, and not assume that the entire plane full of passengers holds celebrities in the same regard. Thank you kindly. I quickly buckle myself in. But as the plane lurches forward, building up speed, I grab the armrest for support, only to find the man in the window seat got there first. We both glance down at my hand, clamped round his forearm. And then when I take my bronzed palm away, We gawp at the perfect fake tan handprint. I leave on his pristine, long-sleeved white t-shirt. I'm immediately even more embarrassed because that ultra-dark tan stain is the sort which will never ever come out. I'd be so annoyed if I were him. Typical, he says, rolling his eyes at me before I can apologise. He's understandably patronising as well as judgmental. Trust me to sit next to a total smoke show whilst I look like such a clown with all this makeup on and Prosecco swilling inside me. I give him a sympathetic shrug. Why do you look so surprised? He shouts above the reverberation of the engine as we hurtle off the safe, solid ground into thin, flimsy air. Why do you look so handsome and well-groomed? I inwardly panic. I seem to have lost the ability to use words to express myself. I'm not surprised, I eventually yell back. It's just my eyebrows. Your what? He bellows over the deafening rattle of the wings and engine combined. My eyebrows! They're supposed to be strong. Not surprised. I holler just as the pilot takes the opportunity to switch off the ear-splitting roar. My words hang in the air as I smile at him awkwardly. Maybe it's the Prosecco, but he is the first attractive man I've noticed in years. I surreptitiously glance down to see his fingers are ring-free as he drums them impatiently against the armrest before swiping up his bottle of designer water from the tray table. Oh, he's got incredibly attractive hands. Perhaps Jed and Liam were right about me deliberately not giving anyone a chance. Maybe some light chit-chat about stain removers might ease me back into being sociable. Who knows, he might see past the hideous makeup and be interested in my opinions on the big questions of the day. Whilst I build up the courage to talk to him, the seatbelt sign is switched off and like lightning, the Dollz scramble to the toilets. 2 go marching to the back and the other 3 to the front in perfect formation when Cherry suddenly shouts, "Hair whip!" and points immediately to me. Sweet baby Jesus. I leap up obediently and hurl my head around in all directions until what seems like an age later. Cherry finally breaks eye contact with me and I thump back into my seat as though recovering from an exhausting spin class or a 5-mile reverse run, and this is all very tense. Mr. Window Seat is agog. He's also covered in water and it's dripping down his face and his top is soaked. My eye is drawn to the magazine on the tray table, and that too is drenched. I notice his iPhone on the table is also dripping wet and he sits there, unable to speak, as water droplets hang off his chin and drip onto his already saturated lap. My eyes travel slowly down to his crotch. It looks like he's wet himself. He glares angrily at me before the penny drops. Oh my goodness, I say full of apology. Did I by any chance have anything to do with you throwing water all over yourself? We're so close. Our arms and legs are touching and I glance back down at his crotch again. It really is soaked. In panic, I do the only thing that springs to mind, and I grab the magazine and hold it up to the aircon. After years of dealing with my mother's illness, I'm nothing if not reasonably adequate in an emergency situation. I'll dry it, I shout, flustered, twisting all the little white knobs on the panel above our heads. The icy air comes out at full blast. And rice! I'll ask the cabin crew for some rice, for your phone, I explained, flapping. Although they've probably only got microwavable Mexican-style rice with vegetables bits in, but it might still work. He exhales loudly in response, gripping his phone tightly. This is why I should not be interacting with members of the opposite sex. I'm too out of practice and they're all too difficult and moody. An almighty roar vibrates through the cabin. Connie, stop talking and do the mop! I peer nervously over the seats to see the entire group energetically swishing imaginary cleaning implements with much gusto down the aisle, dusting people's faces and ruffling their hair. I reluctantly leap up again, and this is humiliating. I have my bum in Mr. Window Seat's wet face, and if he isn't angry enough, I'm literally waving my thigh gap just an inch from his nose. My only hope now is that we are over international waters and he can't sue me for some sort of human rights breach in a European court of law. Connie! Cherry booms, drawing attention to me. Why are you so stiff? Bend from the hips? Like this, babes? At last the twerking comes to a natural end and I'm left with but a teaspoon of dignity. I put his magazine back down on the table. It's ruined. I forgot I had it in my hand whilst I was panic twerking, and I'd rolled it up without thinking, so the soaked pages are now twisted and ripped. The poor man. Now he has nothing to read for the whole flight. And when the cabin crew eventually reach our row with the trolley, I order a croissant and black coffee, and when he orders the same, I insist on paying. He objects very loudly, and we end up in a bit of a tussle with me thrusting my card at the cabin crew. As we drink our coffees, I apologise once again for twerking in his face, spilling his drink, ruining his magazine, possibly breaking his phone, and wetting his crotch. There is no way that will dry before we land. He's craning his body away from me, doing his level best to make sure our arms and legs do not touch. I dare to peek down at his wet patch. I'd be annoyed too, if that was me. "Stop looking at my crotch," he barks, making me jump with fright, which sends the remains of my coffee leaping from my cup, and we both watch in horror as the coffee arcs through the air to land, with precision, on his crotch. I gasp, instinctively lunging towards him with my serviette. "Jesus Christ," he yells, swiping my hand away from his groin. "What is wrong with you?" "Yes, good question. I didn't mean to touch your..." I frantically search for a non-sexual word to describe his wet bulge. "Your privates. I just wanted to help dab them dry." He gives me an outraged look. Dab them dry? Dab them dry? We've crossed the channel, and thanks to Brexit, I have no safety buffer. This is most definitely harassment, no matter how sexually free and easy we may believe the French to be. He stands up, and Mrs. Aisleseat huffs and puffs as we both get up to let him through. There's an uncomfortable moment where we're squashed together in the aisle. I appreciate just how tall he is. He's very tanned with an attractive amount of stubble. He shakes his dark, glossy hair out of his eyes and pulls his wet, tight-fitting top down over his taut stomach, which I'm going to ignore completely because I'm not one of those predatory types, although I do catch his woody, soapy, fresh man scent before he barges roughly past me towards the toilet. And when he eventually returns, my eyes are drawn back to the patch. It's dry now, but where there was once a huge, dark, wet patch surrounding his crotch, there's now a dry, yellow stain. And I don't know how, but this seems even worse. He's so apoplectic with rage, he can barely look at me. I lower my gaze and move to let him through, and we still have half an hour to go before we land in Alicante. So to avoid any further upset, I slump down in my seat and close my eyes. I am shattered, and the last thing I hear is the cabin crew murmuring something about turning the heat up to make us all fall asleep. A loud tannoy announcement startles me. Something about scratch cards before we land and sunshine and glorious temperatures, and my still heavy eyes refuse to open. Instead, I snuggle back into my comfy warm pillow and throw my arms across it. I twist sideways, crossing my legs for comfort, and nod straight off again. Moments later, a second rude announcement penetrates my sleepy brain. Ping! "Ladies and gentlemen, we will shortly be arriving in Alicante. The crew will now pass through the cabin, so please ensure your big lips and heavy eyebrows are securely fastened, your eyelashes are stowed in the upright position, and your leg tattoos are clearly visible for landing." This is swiftly followed by the ping of the seatbelt sign reminding us to fasten them up again. There's simply too much pinging going on. I reluctantly open my eyes and adjust to the harsh bright light pouring in. I see a heavenly blue sky and feathery clouds, and for a moment, I forget I'm on my way to Benidorm and professional humiliation. I gaze out of the window, my head still lying in its warm resting place. Wait, warm? What now? Suddenly I jerk, fully awake, realising with dismay the position I'm currently in. My head is snuggled into Mr. Window Seat's taut chest. I've never in my life felt a peck like it. It's rock solid against my cheek. My arm is resting against his firm tummy area, and this, too, feels like some kind of body armour, and my leg is casually slung over one of his. Fucking hell, I am all but dry humping him, and no more international waters. I carefully peel myself away from his body, and I've left a near-perfect imprint of eyebrows, red lipstick, and a suspicious brown streak across his white shirt. Where to begin with?